I'm trying to fucking build my life in a way to give me as many options to try and live in the best way that I possibly can for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Sure as shit ain't waiting for some magic retirement to live my life.
Welcome to the Evolve Podcast, an open forum on personal growth and cultivating a positive mindset. I'm your host, Joe Fitzpatrick. Today on the show, we have Matt Vincent. Matt Vincent is not dead yet. He is the CEO and creative director of the apparel companies HVIII Brand Goods and HVIII Coffee, as well as the host of the Not Dead Yet podcast. Based out of his studio, the Division of Performance Enhancement, or DOPE, which is located in St. Louis, Missouri, Matt leads a personal development mentorship group called the 1612, which he started to help men and women live their best lives on their own terms and kick ass doing it. Matt is all about living a life worth dying for, and he hopes you do the same. Let's go. Can you just give me a high-level overview for my audience as to who you are, what you do for a living, and what you're passionate about?
All right. My name's Matt Vincent. I am a two-time Highland Games world champion. I am a strength athlete, and I guess that's what I did.
Yeah.
Who I am. I'm an athlete. I like doing stuff. I like trying to get better at things. And then, what do? I own a bunch of weird shit. I have a bunch of things now that equal a job. At the end of the day, I think what I would call myself is I'm a creator. I get to do a lot of different things to share a message.
Right. And those things include your clothing.
I have HVIII Brand Goods is an apparel company. I have a podcast, Not Dead Yet. I have a YouTube channel. I have a coffee company. I've recently started a mentorship group. I do speaking engagements and host events.
Right. And yeah, you got a lot going on. A lot of really great.
Also travel for a living.
Great stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And traveling all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Keep it exciting, they say.
Yeah. Pursuing those adventures that, really light up your soul and, give you a sense of purpose and perspective.
Yeah, they do for me, man. The sense of perspective is the big one because I can get kind of caught in it working at home and kind of being here all the time. I can get really caught in it. But when we travel, it tends to slow down enough to kind of get that perspective of gratitude of how fucking rad all this is. And I can't believe I can do any of it.
Yeah. What was the last trip that you took?
Just got home from a trip to Vegas, but I mean, just to give a rundown on what we're halfway through the year, I've done 3 6-day motorcycle trips. I went to Patagonia for a week. Went to Vegas for a music festival. I've driven across country 4 times. Been to Austin twice. Been to Salt Lake City a handful of times. Went to Montana. Yeah, busy. I just move a lot. I don't stay.
Right. And many more trips on the calendar for the rest of the year too, right?
Yeah, casual stuff. We go to Alaska in like a week and then Bali at the beginning of October. And that doesn't count any of the other travel. Like I leave for Salt Lake City on Friday. I'll be back Monday. And then, yeah, it's just kind of nonstop.
I'll let you go ahead and light your joint there.
She's a wonderful tool.
Absolutely. When did you start smoking weed?
I really got into weed and cannabis, I guess, around 33-ish, 34 maybe. It was really having to do with my knee being all fucked up.
Yeah. You had knee replacement surgery as a result of your Highland Games experience, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't point my finger at anything else that fucked it up, but like there wasn't a catastrophic failure that led to knee replacement. It was just worn out and a bunch of other surgeries that didn't go very well, and now we're here.
Yeah. And how do you feel cannabis was helpful for you in your recovery from that?
Well, not only just as a pain med, for sure, just to help with pain relief. The other side of it too is just the mental side of it. I think cannabis can give people a lot of paranoia or more anxiety for these things, and I think that's one of the really benefits it does is allows more introspection into what is actually bothering me and allows me to kind of dial in that. So I think it was kind of my first step into a plant medicine that started allowing me some more awareness of myself.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that as well. I got into cannabis a little bit more heavily around the same time for me. I'm a few years younger than you. I'm 35 now. So I started getting more into cannabis in 2019, around the time that I quit drinking alcohol. And
Right on.
yeah, so I've had that under my belt for a few years, and I definitely
So were
think
you like AA sober or just quit drinking?
I quit drinking. I still smoke weed, but I haven't done any other drugs. I'm definitely interested in psychedelics,
They're good fun.
exploring that.
I'm a
Yeah,
big fan.
yeah, definitely. But I haven't really dipped my toe in that at all. I'm definitely interested in like mushrooms. I think that's the next place I'm gonna go from weed to
Makes
mushrooms.
sense.
Yeah, and then see where the
That's the path I explored.
yeah, right.
And mushrooms are been a big fan of mushrooms all the way through.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yep. They've been no doubt that they will be something I use for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and how do you like make that transition to trying other things after cannabis, like mushrooms and other psychedelics?
So once I started smoking, and noticed any benefit from it, right, I kind of got a bit annoyed because, really the standard path with what I was dealing with is really just opiates. And that's not a long-term solution for anything I was doing. Also, my pain wasn't going to go away. We were kind of in the midst of chronic pain for a few years, and I needed something else to work with instead of just going to be opiates. Again, like I know how that story ends. I haven't had any addiction issues really, luckily, in my past or any time really. And so the more I got to smoking, man, I grew up in the fucking just say no time. Oddly enough, I had some friends and shit that smoked in college, but I really wasn't ever around it. Plus I was doing track and field. And so I was drug tested on a regular basis, and like, what a fucking dumb thing to get in trouble for.
Right.
Especially when I could drink all the time. I don't know why they wouldn't give a shit about that. And so it's fucking stupid. But I guess the more that I started smoking and I realized that so wait, this is making things better for me and not fucking up my life like I was told it was going to. So at that point, it was very much like, okay, so everyone's full of shit. I'll do my own investigations. And that's kind of what led into it. I knew some people that I trusted very, very well. I got really lucky with a group of people that I fell into as far as psychedelics went, and kind of, shamaned me in or sherpa'd me into that realm, I guess. And got really lucky, man. Some people I really trusted who I considered to be fucking wizards in that space.
Yeah, and it's a cool space to explore, and it helps to have a community around you that is positive and supportive in regards to you exploring that, right?
Right.
And with alcohol, I wasn't in AA, but it did sort of fuck up my life in other areas. When after I graduated college in 2012, I got arrested for DUI, and that at the time was one of the worst things that happened to me. But now I see with better perspective that it is one of the best things that happened to me, because it helped me realize, you're fucking up in this area, you need to change something. I started going to group therapy as required by the court. And, that put me on a path towards seeking professional help. I started going to therapy, and it, helped me start to address those issues underlying my drinking, my relationship with my dad, my low self-esteem. And eventually I got to a point in 2019 where I was able to realize, like, alcohol is not adding any value to my life. Why am I still doing it? And I was able to find that willingness to let it go, and then, start to explore other things that serve me better and add more value.
Yeah, I mean, did you start looking into more self-help stuff, awareness, or any of that type of realm, or?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to like different types of self-help and self-improvement content,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I've been exploring that for like the past 10 years, I guess. And it's been like a slow burn journey, like gradually peeling back new layers. And, after that happened and I started going to therapy, I started addressing more like of my relationship issues resulting from that, which I was, still experiencing. Um, and then I eventually decided to switch to a plant-based diet. I had like gotten into running, and I eventually did a half marathon, and then I did a full marathon, and then I did an ultra marathon,
Right on.
and got more into biking, and then more recently, in the past year, I've gotten more into strength training, and really focusing on adding more, weight resistance training to my routine, which has helped me out immensely. It's helped me to lose more weight than I had thought was possible for me.
How much?
And
What was the biggest you were at?
so at the biggest, I was around 280.
Okay.
Not huge, but
Yeah, I've been
um,
there.
yeah, definitely not happy with how I was looking. Starting to head, in a direction that was going to cause problems down the road if I, continued with that lifestyle. And um, I eventually got to a better place, and then continued to try and do better and better. That's really been my journey. And mental health has been at the root of it, the whole time.
Right on.
Yeah. Do you have a therapist that you see?
I do not. Mostly mushrooms.
Yeah, that's good. And has therapy just not been something that's worked out for you in the past?
I've been a handful of times for different things, and no, it doesn't typically work very well for me. I'm a bit of a lunatic, so I feel like I'm trying to win therapy, and I know how fucking stupid that is.
Yeah.
Uh, so mushrooms kind of allow me to, I have to deal with my own shit. I can't really lie to me. I can't really fake it out. I can't talk my way through it, and I
Mhm.
need that. I have too good an ability to speak to people when it comes to therapy, and I end up not accomplishing what I would like to, or I'm not accomplishing what I should be doing in therapy. And yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know certain forms of therapy aren't for everyone, and it's helpful for you to have that awareness about what is working for you versus what isn't. And
yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I do. My big therapeutic sessions, oddly enough, like I get a lot more out of uh like a really good, like me doing a 90-minute massage. I'll end up getting a lot of mindfulness meditation and be able to work through a bunch of bullshit that I'm dealing with, and
mhm,
get more out of that than I will traditional therapy.
yeah, yeah, and I want to talk about that. I know, you're really much an advocate for uh, like staying in the sauna, getting that that heat exposure, and
Yeah.
then getting to the ice bucket or the cold plunge to get that cold exposure. And how that helps to regulate your nervous system. Like, can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the cold plunge, look, there's tons of evidence-based science with the cold plunge, right? And like what it does to help increase dopamine, serotonin, everything else with the body. I'm so fucking far from a scientist. I don't want to try to butcher that shit as I'm just regurgitating it from someone else. So
Mhm.
like my own anecdotal evidence of what I like really about doing it. When I immediately can swap over into down regulating and getting inflammation out of my system through that cold. I've used it since like 2015 when my knee was really fucked up, and I've found it very valuable. It's one of those places that I end up finding I'm really present. And with
Yeah.
as much fucking lunacy as I have and ADHD or anything else, finding something that kind of puts me clear and focused in a moment is really valuable. It tends for me to gives me an ability to slow everything down and get back present instead of kind of the speeding chaos that I'll end up chasing. And I don't want to dull any of that shit with different medications. So some form of cannabis allows me a little bit more focus. The cold plunge is another tool that I can use to kind of moderate those things, as well as my head. With that down regulation, it just allows me to, shut it down, to kick out of that parasympathetic nervous system over into sympathetic nervous system and start relaxing. I know when I use it on a regular basis, I feel sharper. I just fucking feel better. I feel better about myself. There's something mental to it as well of like, yo, this sucks. And I'm walking into it on purpose.
Mhm.
Like it's a fucking choice every day to do this thing because it's easy to pass on. But at the same time, for me, like if I'm someone who's actually going to have to say that I'm driven by trying to be a better version of me and performance enhancement, and this is something that I do feel has brought value to my life, anecdotally or fucking not, as long as it brings value, I'm in. And so if it does, why wouldn't we do this? It's zero fucking danger. There's no risk of injury. And it requires 3 minutes of my day. I don't have a better return on investment than that.
Hey guys, brief pause in the episode to tell you about some of the great businesses that support this podcast. First, we got Weight Train. Use code Evolved Podcast to get 10% off all Weight Train and Athleticity gym gear and apparel. No matter what you need for your workouts, they have the gear to help you get it done. And if you don't see something you want, email them at team@weighttrain.com and they will take your requests for new products. Visit Weight Train for all your gym gear needs. Next is True Nutrition. Use code Evolved Podcast to get 5% off all nutrition supplements. I'm personally a fan of their soy isolate vegan protein powder, available in a variety of flavors and strengths, from light to heavy. They also have non-vegan protein powders if that's not your thing. I personally recommend the cinnamon bun and toasted coconut flavors in the heavy strength, and I add them to waffles, oatmeal, protein shakes, and ice cream. They're delicious. Check out their wide range of supplements at affordable prices that are third-party tested and verified for content quality. They are able to provide such great prices because the supplements come direct from the manufacturer without any marketing gimmicks or fancy labels. Visit TrueNutrition.com to supplement your workouts and your nutrition. Last is HVIII Brand Goods. Use code Evolved Podcast to get 15% off all HVIII Brand clothing and accessories. Their goat shorts and shirts are the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn, and they have the coolest designs. However, their clothing drops are only available in limited quantities, so get your favorites while you can, and be on the lookout for other drops that you're stoked on. Visit thehate.com, spelled HVIII, for clothing to remind the world that you're not dead yet and you're ready to kick today in the dick. Back to the show.
Cold plunge is something I would definitely like to have if I had the space for it. Right now I'm in an apartment, so I don't really have a place to put a cold tub or a barrel or anything like that. But definitely is a good goal.
Look, and I think cold
However,
showers are a good start.
I know I have that option of like being in the cold water, and whether I choose to do that or not really just depends on the day. But like, it's good to know that I have that option.
For sure. And I do think it's a really good tool. I think there's also that big piece of just choosing to do something. Like every fucking time I get in the cold, I'm better at managing staying calm and managing my breath now. But like if I go in and do a big head dunk and that's how I start, like I don't fucking ease into it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do that big head dunk, I also will mix that with a breath hold. And then as I come up, I'm trying to be
Slow, controlled
and
breathing.
control that breath instead of that panic that sets in from the cold, which it will.
Right.
My job is to get through that as quickly as I can and get the machine back under my fucking control. And that gives me a chance to start managing other times in my life where I feel heart rate get accelerated or things take over and I don't know how to manage them. Fuck you, we do. We have the tools for this. We practice this. This gives me a way to simulate that panic without it being a real fucking danger, which most of the time it isn't. But at least I can acknowledge that feeling and recognize it as like, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Right. Cultivating that awareness of how to respond to certain situations, putting yourself in a situation where your body will literally go into panic mode, and then you can learn to tap into that in other situations as well.
Right.
Yeah. I love that.
I mean, if you don't practice that, why would you get good at it?
Right. Right. And like you say frequently on your podcast, confidence comes from experience, right? If you're not going to try something multiple times, you're not necessarily going to be confident at it
You're
because
never going to
of the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think confidence, right, is experience, education, and competence in a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even people I know that get fucking nervous around guns is probably the biggest one I don't understand. And whether you're for or against, I don't give a shit. It's a fucking tool. Like, right? It doesn't have a say. It doesn't have an emotion. It's not a scary fucking being. It's a thing. And people that look at them like they're fucking fireworks, so they're going to explode in their hand, just shows a complete lack of understanding of what this thing does and how it operates. And why wouldn't
Right.
you educate yourself on something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to back up a little bit. With HVIII, you started that in 2008, correct?
14.
2014.
Mhm.
And can you talk a little bit about how the brand has progressed over the years from like where you started to where it is now, like how you've grown the business?
I mean, the growth of the business side is scale, right? Like it's the more things we can make and me trying to bring on team members that do the parts of the job that I suck at better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying to fucking make me as obsolete as possible. I mean, at first I kind of was doing everything from, design work to, I mean, everything except printing and shipping stuff. I did that from jump with my warehouse the whole time. I figured that wasn't the smartest thing for me to do as I was busy, and that's continued. I've never moved from where we are in Kansas. Working with Phil, it's fucking awesome. And then, I mean, the brand, we still make graphic tees and shorts, man. I don't think we're a whole ton different, right? Like if I had to put a vibe on the brand, it's if Vans would have started in strength culture instead of skate. Like that's who I am. I dig that kind of simple West Coast classic look. I like hoodies and t-shirts. I like board shorts, and I like kind of a fitted skater vibe. I'm not into stringer tanks or any of the muscle stuff. I never really wanted to make workout wear.
Right.
And so as the brand's grown, like I've been able to bring people on to do those parts that I suck at, right? Like I've got a guy who runs my operations and he makes sure that things are happening at the pace they should be happening. When stuff needs to be ordered overseas so that it gets in an appropriate amount of time so we can shoot it and then promote it and then drop it. and running that schedule the way that we do. And then I've got, Brant on board who's come on board in the last 3 years and been fucking killer as a content creator. Came on very, very green to help edit some videos for my YouTube, and now is my fucking right hand and everything, man.
Mhm.
And then I've got my behind the scenes team as far as web development, my web guy, and then my social media team. So I've hired people to do the jobs I suck at.
How was your experience with giving up control to the various people that you've hired? How did you make that connection when the time came to when you realized that you needed to hire someone for that role?
Well, when you say that, when you give up control, like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, what control did I give up? They're still making what I want to be made.
Right. I guess the delegating,
You fucking have to.
what the responsibilities are.
You have to. You have to learn to delegate, right? Like, I can't do it all. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'll at some point, I'm the problem with my fucking business. In fact, all the time, I'm the fucking problem.
Right.
Well, that's either lack of guidance, or I'm not able to translate my idea and intention well enough to the people who work for me so that they can complete the task.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so
Right.
it's that. And I hire people that understand what we're trying to do. I also allow people to fuck up, because there's no way to get better at stuff if we aren't trying to do things. I'm very much a work for me, and like, we are going to make decisions and fail forward.
Right.
Like, I don't want to fucking hold your hand and do your job. If I have to do your job, I'll fucking find someone else. This doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I have no interest in fucking micromanaging you. If we don't ever speak, that works great. That means your job's done by fucking magic, which is awesome too.
Yeah. You're happy and they're happy too, right?
Perfect. And like, every employee's differently. Every employee gets managed different. I manage people based on what I think helps get the best results out of them for what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So like, control, it's more control fucking hiring talented people.
Right. So it's never been about giving up control for you. It's about taking stuff off your plate and then letting them run with it.
Well, it's not just taking stuff off my plate, right? It's taking stuff off my plate so that I can do the stuff they fucking can't.
Right.
They can't host a podcast. They can't talk to people. They can't travel around the way I do and do those things and help promote the brand and show the lifestyle that we're about. That we want people to fucking see this zest for life, that, man, fucking, you're on the clock. Like, what are you fucking wasting time for? Be your fucking best and get out there and see and do as much as you can in this life as you possibly fucking can. And let's get going.
Where's that passion for life come from?
Because I'm fucking dying. That's where it comes from. Because I'm fucking dying. We all are. I'm very, very aware of it. There's no forever. I don't have this infinite amount of time to accomplish all these things. I forget, as of right now, it's 1,173 weeks I have left to live.
When did you start feeling that way?
31. The day I turned 31. My father had passed away the day before at 62, and I counted that as halfway. And with that awareness of, I'm fucking dying, I have a terminal disease, and I'm dying in 31 years, we should probably get on the fucking gas to do all the things I dream about.
Right.
If not, what are we doing?
Right. And based on your lifestyle, you're probably going to live a little bit longer than that, but it's
Sure, but also I can get fucking cancer and get hit by a goddamn car.
Yeah, you don't fucking know, that's for sure.
It's not morbid, it's fucking realistic. People die all the fucking time for no reason. Healthy people drop fucking dead.
Sure. Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to stack the cards in my favor. I'm not living like an asshole. I'm not trying to just cram my face with cheeseburgers. I'm trying to fucking build my life in a way to give me as many options to try and live in the best way that I possibly can for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Sure as shit ain't waiting for some magic retirement to live my life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's evident for sure. What's new with Habit Coffee? What's going on with that business?
We got K-Cups done. And so we have those out, and we're working on an espresso roast. So growing it the same way we do everything else. We have a couple things in works. I'm talking with some people about possibly looking at trying to make some like coffee shops. and doing branding with Habit, which would be super fun. I'd love to get to design those. I have no interest in running them.
Are you looking at locations in St. Louis?
It would be varied.
Very cool.
Yeah, it would be really cool to do. I think it would be fun to create those. I know aesthetically what I would want them to look like already. I don't really want coffee shops to go inside, but like drive-throughs. I want to fucking fast. Get coffee and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You're hanging out. Stop your
Okay.
loitering and go get your shit done.
Switching gears to the 1612. How did that group get started?
Yeah, I got involved with a couple different mentor groups, and I felt that there was a couple holes in what I was seeing, and I thought that, the things that I didn't feel as drawn to or were missing for me, that, well, maybe I'll just do my own. I got tired of fucking thinking about it, and so I decided, fuck it. Do our own. I want to work with people. I already talked this stuff and share this information, and we started having Sunday service here at the gym occasionally when we're in town, and seeing that community form just fucking feels right. Like, I think we started as pretty tight-knit group of people as far as humans go, in small tribes and small cities and things like that, and where there's really no anonymity, and people are allowed to share, and they're safe because everyone knows you from fucking your entire life. And then as we got to bigger cities and everything, we have more people around, but we're more anonymous because you blend in and no one knows who you are. And it's really not a community the same way. I mean, nothing like living next to a couple million strangers. And then with the internet, like in message boards, right? Like, we see that community come back where people find people that are interested in the shit that they're interested in. Whereas my hometown's not going to probably provide those people for me. And I think it's really important, again, to bring it back to being able to do stuff in person and being able to communicate one-on-one and being able to share with people who give a shit, and people that, as far as life progression goes and doing stuff you want to do, like, I don't want to have to fucking sell the people around me on my dream. I don't fucking care if you like it or not. Shut your fucking mouth. I didn't ask you that. I asked you, help. What do you think about this? Not that's hard, you shouldn't do it. Like, nah, man, I want people that want to help solve those problems. I want to have people that, why would I get in the way of your dreams? They're going to be hard for you to figure out. Best of fucking luck. But telling you it's stupid, or telling you not to do it, or asking you why, like, shouldn't you be happy with what you have? Fuck off.
Yeah, it's not helping.
No, so fuck off, right? And like, the 1612 for me was, I wanted somewhere that other weirdos like myself had this resource of people who wanted to see you succeed, and people that you didn't have to explain it to. And I don't give a fuck what your job is, but what I give a shit about is that you care about your life the way that I do, that you're excited about your life the way that I am. And I believe that's something you can fix with mindset. I believe that's something you can fix with your perception and figuring out how to live in abundance instead of thinking everything's scarce or woe is me. Instead of operating out of fear, figuring out how to deal with people with love.
What was your mindset prior to 31?
I think a lot of this was in there, but it didn't have a real grasp of things not working out well. And for me, it was a really big awakening that my body or my machine really didn't fucking operate anymore. And I couldn't do any of those. And it took a long time for me to realize, like, holy fuck, like, all the confidence I have and all this ability I have and these relationships I have all come on the back of how well this thing is operated. So who the fuck am I without it?
Right.
And I didn't know. I mean, it took a long time to dig through that and figure out who that guy is and what he's interested in. And
Right.
it kind of came out of it. A lot of a lot of those parts are still in there. Like, I'm still the driven guy and lunatic that's obsessed about shit. But what I've realized too is, like, I've been good at physical stuff because they interest me. And I know how to do it for the long term, and I can grind and show up a bunch of times and do all the effort and do all the training and do the rehab. Like, I don't care. I can just do it forever. So if I can apply that to everything else, why wouldn't I consistently get better at everything else I want to be good at? But I have to be willing to push myself to a level of discomfort, which I always tend to be in. And so
Right. And
that's where adaptation happens.
yeah. And for me, it's sort of been an opposite journey, right? Like you ran track in college, you eventually made your way into the Highland Games, and you won a couple world championships, which took a major toll on your body. And now, you're figuring out who you are without that type of athleticism from your career in the Highland Games.
Look, I was really lucky that the head I had on my shoulders, sports had come to an end for me before, right? Like I had done high school football to some level of success, and I had done track and field in college to some level of success, and then that ended. So like I knew Highland Games weren't a permanent thing that I was going to do for the rest of my fucking life, and nor did I really have an interest. But I didn't expect to not be athletic afterwards. I didn't expect to be in chronic pain. And, that wasn't something that, it just happened to come after the Highland Games, but it could have happened at any point.
Sure.
So like when that got taken from me and I realized like, oh, fuck, I can't do so many things that I had wanted to do. Like running, out of the fucking question. Riding a bike, not really great anymore. So that takes away any of those adventures I'm interested in. Like, fuck, man, like my hip and knee are bad. I can't even really sit in a decent position very long. So like any of that shit that I've done with motorcycles, out of the fucking question. And like all I could start thinking about was all these avenues and doors that were closed. But man, once I got different perspective and fixed the knee, no fucking way am I concerned about trying to chase strength again. I did it. Right. I figured out all that shit. I figured out what's the best I can lift and what's the furthest I can throw. I don't need to know again. I know how to now be strong, and I know how to maintain strength and take care of my body for whatever the new challenge is. But I'm going to seek out new fucking challenges.
Yeah. And, for me, I really didn't take care of myself growing up. And, I ate like shit. I ate like everyone else, practically, and, had a lot of junk food because I didn't really have any boundaries or like a good role model for me as to like what I should be eating and building strength and
hey man, our parents' generation doesn't know what they didn't know.
Exactly, right. And
them continuing to do it is a problem.
Yeah, once you have that information,
right?
Yeah, and I continue to not take care of myself into college and after college, but eventually I found my way to meeting some people like my coach who got me into strength training and better nutrition, and eventually like I'm still on the journey up like to having the body that I want to have, and my mindset shifts over the years are a direct reflection of that as well. So with previously being more victim mindset based to now having more of a growth mindset, I feel like that's all been possible because of the athletic achievements that I've been able to make, as well as the changes that I've made in my diet.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing full plant-based?
Yeah. I've been fully plant-based since 2017. With getting into strength training, I've adapted to have higher protein intake. A lot of my protein sources are things like tofu or seitan or TVP, which is textured vegetable protein. And I really enjoy those. Also, I'll do like the fake meats from time to time, like a Beyond Burger or something like that. Just depending on like what's available.
Right on.
Yeah. And that's served me really well. I know that there are certain studies out there about eating for your blood type, and my blood type is A positive. And according to a nutritionist that I spoke to, that they said like A positive is really good for vegetarians and vegans. So I didn't know that going into it, but it makes sense to me now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good information to have.
Yeah. And I know that you do your nutrition, primarily with Nutrition Solutions right now.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
What are
that's
your,
probably main.
what are your nutrition goals for working with them?
Be slightly less fatter than I am right now over time.
Do you have
Also the convenience of having those good meals instead of me ordering bullshit and overeating portions or doing any of that because I'm busy and I forget to eat and then I panic.
Mhm.
So it eliminates a lot of that. Also, I don't have to go to the store. I fucking hate doing that. I really hate those inconveniences and things that I find to be a waste of my time. And right now, I find that to be a waste of my time.
Yeah,
Maybe one day I feel differently.
maybe.
I mean, look, I can cook better food.
You're right.
No one's doing meal prep because it's the most delicious thing they've ever eaten. I'm doing it out of convenience and cost. And it's great for 90% of the meals. I just grab one. I don't have to think about shit and I heat it up and move on with my life. And then when I want to give a shit about a meal, I order and eat whatever fuck I want.
Is there a particular meal in the Nutrition Solutions program that you really like more than the others?
All their enchilada stuff. If they're sending me anything that comes with tortillas, I'm gonna fuck that up. Straight up.
Oh yeah.
All their grass-fed meat stuff is really good. Their wings are really good, and then the turkey burgers are good. There's a couple that there's like a turkey dinner one that I don't care for that much, but I don't know why. Because every time I eat it, I comment on how fucking good it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't ever choose it out of the fridge. I always look at it, I'm like, fucking wants turkey. Turkey's
Maybe
bullshit.
Comparison to the other ones.
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm pretty anti like Thanksgiving turkey in general, and I just don't fucking understand why we bother. It's this stupid archaic tradition. If turkey was that fucking good, we would do that I'll do that for more meals than the once we're supposed to a year. Just fucking cook a steak.
So looking at your workout routine now, what are you primarily focusing on?
Endurance.
You have a big bike ride coming up, right?
Yeah. Main thing right now is I'm training for this Not Dead Yet ride we're gonna ride the length of the Katy Trail, which is 240 miles from like Kansas City to Missouri, so across the state. And the idea is we'll knock it out in a sitting. So we'll go till it's done.
Yeah, just don't stop, right?
Yeah, and I think realistically we're looking at like probably 17 to 20 hours. And that'd be fucking hard. Like I think I have the gas tank for most of it. Like I've done 5 and 6 hour rides in the last couple months that didn't feel too beating me up. So that probably means I have like 10. So I think as long as I keep kind of continuing and spending a lot of time in this zone 2 that I'm doing, like I'll build the endurance. So like right now I'm doing about 2 hours a day of cardio, in that zone 2 steady state, and then like 2 or 3 days of strength training. But every day is cardio, and then some days I'll also lift.
When you're tracking the cardio, are you tracking mileage as well?
Right now it's really hourly. I mean, if I'm going to do a shorter session, like my rule is it has to at least be 24 miles so that I'm doing 10% of the ride. Like at least I could squeak out what 10% of this feels like.
Uh-huh.
But even in like 4 weeks of training for it, the amount of energy it felt like for me to keep on the bike for an hour now is easy at 2. Like I don't mind being on the bike. I can zone back in to just put a movie on and kind of the autopilot takes over and pedals and keeps the pace I want to pace. So I watch a lot of movies instead of go outside.
Right. And you still do a bit of
movie.
outdoor riding as well, right?
Yeah, I do enjoy doing a lot of outdoor riding. I'm honestly just pretty lazy when I'm home as far as inconvenience, and not the fact that I can just do it all here at Dope and watch a movie and still be able to fucking answer my phone with what comes in or any of the other things. I do it here.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I travel, I typically will bring a bike with me and ride outside.
Where have you done an outdoor ride recently?
I rode in Vegas. I rode in Colorado on the last trip. I rode in Utah. I think those probably wrap it up for that.
Do you
one.
just do gravel rides or do you road ride as well?
I do a bit of everything. I've got a really nice road bike. I've got a couple gravel bikes, and then I have a really nice mountain bike.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm into it. That was kind of my first real obsession So I got into cycling in college, and then ended up opening a bike shop and running it poorly for a while and closing it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So, you previously had this bike shop business that failed. Um, is in you ended up having to close the business with your business partner. And I know you've learned so much from that experience. So the question of calling it a failure is questionable,
Sure.
And what do you feel like have been
I
like
left because it wasn't
takeaways?
making enough money and I couldn't figure out how for it to make any more money. So I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and say failure. Like we couldn't stay open with what we were doing.
Mhm.
Um,
What were your major takeaways from that experience with the perspective that you have now?
22-year-old me is not the fucking dude to run your business and or be your business partner. Much better guy to work with at 40.
Mhm. Have
Um,
you thought about opening another bike shop?
fuck no. Jesus fuck Christ, no. Why would I ever? Why would you ever at this point like do the brick and mortar thing and have a place I actually have to go every day? That seems fucking crazy.
Yeah, and like e-commerce, thrived through the pandemic and then continues to thrive. A lot of businesses realize the benefit of not having any overhead when you're going through a fucking pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
Definitely helps. Yeah, I mean the idea for me, look, I think it all depends on what your definition of success is. And mine really doesn't have a whole fucking lot to do with my bank account. My
Mhm.
idea of success is getting to do what I want to most days. Like I want to spend as many a day as the rest of my life pursuing things I give a fuck about. I don't want to build your dreams, nor do I want to go hang out somewhere at any point out of obligation.
Right.
I can avoid those two things, I'm going to.
Right. And I know that prior to starting Hate, you worked in outside, well, prior to the bike shop and Hate, you worked in outside sales. Um, and then you eventually made the transition into working in your business full time.
Yeah, yeah. So I spent 10 years as an outside sales rep in the petrochemical industry. Yeah. It was
And
a great
then,
job.
yeah. And, what was your mindset or your experience when you eventually decided to make that transition
Well, they
out
fired
of
me.
the job?
Well, they fired me
Right,
eventually
right,
when
right.
I
You
decided
didn't
to
have a
go
choice.
pursue other work. I knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing the best job for them at that point. I had more interest in running my own thing, and I figured at some point they'd end up letting me go, and they did.
You were already in the process of building
Yeah,
up
fuck
the
yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd already lost interest um, in that thing. And so when I had a chance to run at it kind of full speed, I just never really looked back.
What did your life look like at that point?
And the outside sales job was good. But I mean, so now you're talking about before I got fired, right? Because that really doesn't count. But let's say prior to 2016, when things were more or less normal. Outside sales rep. So I work from home. I mean, my gym and everything was at the house at that point. I'm in Louisiana. And my sales territory was kind of most of the US. And so I traveled 3 or so days during the week, and then I traveled to compete on the weekends. Um, I'd compete about 20 times a year, and I would do most, 75,000 miles driving and fly about 40 times a year for a decade. Um, it's just moved. I've always been kind of a wanderer, and I've always liked it. Um, So it didn't look a ton different than now, but the where I'm going and why I'm going to places is very different. The pace of my life seems to be about the same.
What about in terms of like, um, your lifestyle and like the way you were living,
Oh shit.
um, the way that you were living in like the physical sense? Like where were you at that time? I mean, you said you were in Louisiana.
Yep.
Did you have the house with your ex-wife at that
Yep.
point?
Yeah, I lived in Louisiana with my ex-wife. I was bigger, but I really didn't start losing weight until I got hurt. So I was probably 285, 290-ish, 295 at the biggest that I was throwing. And so, I mean, I'm doing the outside sales job, man, traveling around, taking dudes to lunch, eating kind of shit. Drinking's kind of a part of the gig. I drank on a regular basis. We were drug tested for work. We're drug tested for Highland Games, so I'm not really doing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second I was hurt and not going to that job, I made a decision to drink a lot less and do more drugs.
What does your morning routine look like in addition to what we've talked about already? You know, including the cold plunge and sauna, working out.
So, kind of best case scenario right now, what works for me morning routine wise is usually kind of first thing up, I kind of get up and do cardio. And so I usually come directly up here and get to work doing some type of moving. So a perfect day for me is at least is an hour of cardio while I'm watching something I've never seen before, whether that's a documentary or a podcast or something. Like I want something to turn my brain on while I'm pedaling or running or doing any of that, to start thinking about new ideas that maybe I haven't gone through. I don't want to be on autopilot. I don't want to fucking listen to the same bullshit song. I'm not trying to disconnect. I'm trying to fucking turn on. And so when I wrap that hour up, I usually make a move to the sauna for 45 minutes or an hour at 170 degrees or as long as I can stomach it. And in there, I'll usually listen to an audiobook or something without lyrics, and I journal for part of the time in there. And at some point during that, like there's going to be a shitty voice that shows up that's like, it's fucking hot, let's get out of here. And at that point, I kind of try to get away from my phone and focus on my breath and just give it 10 minutes. And then
When you focus on your breath, you mean meditation?
Yeah. So go through some breath work routine, whether that's just a simple box breathing type of thing to slow stuff down and be able to force and sit with it. And then from there, I go to the cold tub. And then 3 minutes out of that, I start the day. It's perfect case scenario. It's very rarely do I have that 2.5 fucking hours to do it. Sometimes that starts at 4:30. I mean, my sleep's a little weird and I don't really care what time I wake up. So like if I wake up at midnight and I'm awake, like I'm not going to argue with it. I'll just fucking get up and start my day. I don't care. It's great. I have like 6 or 7 hours in before anyone tries to contact me.
If you have to wake up to pee, is that the time that it is to get up?
Sometimes. It depends. Like I'll go back to bed. I mean, if it's dark as ass in the house, I'm not trying to force myself to get up. But like if I get back in bed and I lay there for long enough to think about getting up, I'm getting up. If I go back to sleep, sweet. That's always better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use much of an alarm clock or anything else. About the only thing I use right now is I have like a chili pad on my bed to keep my bed cold from chilly sleep, and it's got a setting on it that will naturally warm the bed up, and that'll wake me up. I'll just get hot, and that'll take me out of deep sleep, and then I get up at. Usually, I have that kick on by I'm out of bed by 6.
Yeah, I gotta admit, when I first heard about that chili sleep pad, I wanted it, and
Dude, they're fucking
I
great.
haven't gotten it yet, but it is on my wish list.
They're awesome, man. They've been a big game changer for me, man. I've slept with one now for 6 years.
And I love how you can like change the setting on both sides.
Oh yeah.
So one side can be super cold, the other one can be a little warmer.
You can also program it too, right? So that it turns on by a certain time. And like, so for me, I want mine just run as fucking full blast cold as possible until it wants to wake me up. But Bonnie will set hers so that it's warm when she gets into bed, then gets cold, and then warms up again.
Very nice.
Especially in the winter. Right now, it's hot as fuck.
Yeah, sure.
Just run them full blast cold as long as possible.
Do you have any habits that you practice that help you to stay productive, remember new ideas, or add value to your life? And if so, what are they?
I mean, other than journaling in my morning routine, not really. I mean, those are kind of the big ones.
Is journaling where you like put down all your ideas for the day or your to-do lists, stuff like that?
It varies. Usually there's something I need to get out or get written down. And so I keep shit on a whiteboard. I keep lots of notes. But I very rarely dig through my notes, which is odd. Typically, if I've written down, I kind of locked it away because it kind of made me look at it.
And did I hear that you're working on a book as well? I
Have
know you
been.
self-published in a few other books
Yep.
related to training.
I'm working on a book with Victory Belt Publishing currently.
Is that like autobiography type thing?
I think that's
Memoir?
how it was kind of originally feel like it was going to go. Like I didn't plan to write this book, right? Like, I mean, the original thing I did, I started journaling when my knee went shit and was kind of going through the daily process and talking about what I was doing for rehab and kind of where my mindset was and how things were being managed. And then eventually I kind of realized there through surgery, like 7 or so, that like, oh, we're never fucking competing again. Like we may be permanent fucking limp route. Like we're in a much different fight than we originally thought. And so, I mean, there's a point in my journaling where that awareness starts. And I know, wanted to share all that story and kind of how we got there. But as we've progressed, I really think there's some better options for being able to like get the lessons I got from that dark period of really trying to have to figure out who my new identity was, without having to fucking chase this ghost of what I was.
Right. So you can pull anecdotes of,
Yes.
stories that make sense, but, make it maybe a little bit more of the self-help.
Yeah, more self-help, more takeaway, give some journaling type of assignments with it to kind of build some awareness of what you're going through. Look, I just don't think anyone ever really has a lot of answers for people whenever they lose that identity or reach that point in their life, right? Where like all of a sudden you have this honest look of like, but I've done all the things that were supposed to equal happiness or fulfillment, and why the fuck do I feel this way? Well, it's because you're following someone else's fucking line. Sorry, it didn't work out.
Right. And that's definitely something that I struggle with as well. That feeling of imposter syndrome that I know is so common amongst
We
everyone.
all have it.
Yeah.
Run into it all the fucking time.
And compare
Speaking engagement I have this weekend, tons of it.
and comparing our journeys to other people's,
Well, that one I've gotten a lot fucking better at, but it still shows up, man. That comparison
Yeah.
is a piece of shit, right? Like that quote, "The comparison's a thief of joy," is so fucking dead on. That it never allows you to live in your own abundance because I'm looking at what I don't have instead of what I have. Books like The Gap and the Gain really cover that topic very, very well. This idea that I'm trying to live looking and measuring all my progress looking backwards at where I was 10 years from now, 5 years ago, 3 months ago, instead of concerning myself with where I'm not. Because that expectation of where I should be is made up on fucking nothing.
Right. And I know that that phrase that you're really focusing on now, not dead yet, that really focuses on that, it focuses more on what's to come in the present rather than what's already happened in the past.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel that obligated to any of those ghosts or who I was or what was there. I'm far more concerned about what I have left to do than I am with what I did. I'm not that person. I'm not those things. I am who I currently am right now and what I'm currently trying to pursue. And I think one of those things, even in our culture, that is an interesting look, right? Is that the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I think people fuck that up and think it reads happiness, but it doesn't. It reads pursuit of.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness isn't a fucking thing.
It's not
Happiness isn't a
guaranteed
feeling, a side effect of doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be in the pursuit of it. It also kind of hints that you'll never fucking get it, which is its own weird kind of thing to write into our Constitution. But here
Yeah, it definitely doesn't mean there's a guarantee,
Fuck no, there's none.
Nothing is
There's none.
guaranteed in this life.
No, but what you can guarantee, right, is to be able to look at with a sense of abundance and gratitude for what you do have and the opportunities you do have and where you've been and how you've gotten here. And even if yesterday was dog shit or whatever you grew up with shitty parents or fucked up folks or any of this other stuff or abuse, like at some point you're the one writing tomorrow. And that's on you. being
Mhm.
able to manage that trauma and let it go. Like that's a thing we have to deal with. It's not going
Absolutely.
to serve us going forward.
Yeah. And, you know, I've definitely felt haunted by ghosts of past versions of myself and, you know, past mistakes, past traumas, past regrets, past, you know, relationships, things of that nature. And I do acknowledge that, like, I was not able to heal from them and truly let them go until I was able to, you know, forgive myself in certain
Sure.
instances and, you know, just accept that that past is gone. I am not defined by that, you know?
Right.
And that was a big shift for me. Yeah. Um, what was the last place you had a major mindset shift that you can recall?
Man, they fucking happen all the time.
Yeah,
Major mindset shifts, like it's really hard to pin that down. Um,
sure. Well, I guess with like 1612, what are some shifts? What are some mindset shifts that you're seeing in that group?
for there, right? Like the big stuff that I'm trying to communicate with people as far as like life philosophy goes is the freedom that comes with total accountability to your life. That
Yeah,
you are not a fucking victim and choosing to be one at any point is on you. It's easier to go the other way. I'm not saying that shitty things don't happen, and nor am I trying to say that you deserve all of them. But I'm saying it's up to you with how you fucking deal with it. And no one's coming to fucking save you. Like if you're not willing to put it on the line for your life, no one fucking else is going to give a shit. So if you're not happy and you're not doing the things you want to do within your life, that's your fucking fault. So let's get to it. Let's start figuring out a plan and let's start going, because I'm not ever going to give a fuck about your dreams more than you, and nor should anyone else. And nor can anyone care about mine more than me. But I can put them into play. I can figure it out. And you're going to have to do the same. And so with that group, like I want to share the resources of a bunch of people with a lot of different life experiences that can help you figure out those things. You know, I think that accountability is a big part of it. I think the other one that we talk about is really how to accomplish goals. And the goal accomplishing, right? Like there's kind of 4 steps to it. There's inspiration, there's awareness, there's intention, and action. And as long as I line those 4 up, I can get there. But if I start looking at expectations or how long it's supposed to take or doing any of this other bullshit, I'm setting myself up for failure because I don't have those answers. You know, but I'm always being able to look at the awareness side of it and say, is this serving where we wanted to go? What are our intentions? Or are we just trying to make progress? Because that's not always a good focus, right? Like even when I look at goal setting within the group, we have a member that, you know, posted a bunch of goals and felt overwhelmed, like he's not really accomplishing any of them because he's a bit too scattered for one. And then the other ones, like his goals were too fucking arbitrary. Stuff like be a better dad. How the fuck do you want to measure that? Well, why don't we say let's spend 2 hours with our kid every day,
right.
right? Like let's put some ways that if you take the action, it'll equal better dad.
Mm-hmm.
Or what does a better dad do? You know, what do you want to in 5 years? What skills and where do you want that guy to be? So let's start figuring that shit out now.
Yeah,
Let's start hooking that dude up the most we can and chasing something we give a shit about. I
right.
mean, the other side of stuff we talk about is purpose. And how do we find that? And so, I mean, we have some great journaling assignments that help with that and being able to find that awareness again of like, what is it you want, right? Like for me, there was, it shifts over time. And so what was very specific purpose of like, I want to build this brand. Now I want to create.
Yeah,
If I'm creating, it's answering my purpose. You know, if I'm creating stuff that has an impact on people so that they want more, I want to be in addition to people's lives with whatever it is I create or my relationship with them or whatever it can be. I want to be a +1 for fucking anyone that gets a chance to interact with me. And so that's the intention. That one's always easy to follow. But if expectations are build a fucking $10 million business, I'm probably going to miss the mark.
So how do you hold yourself accountable to that?
Well, it's being able to question a bunch of times, right? Like take a look at my week every week and look at my journaling and say, what are the big needle movers we have this week to accomplish our intention? What can we do to drive things the direction we want? And being able to look at those every week and say, did we do it or did we not? Where could we be better? Where were we a failure? And I look at those things really sociopathically, like don't look at them with a lot of emotion. I either fucking did it or I didn't. And if I'm consistently not doing the things, maybe I need to take a second and realize that's not something I give a shit about. Because if I give a shit about it, we'll do it.
Right.
But I'm not going to fucking pretend we are.
Yeah.
And so if we don't care about it, save the fucking energy and let's go find something we do.
You ever find yourself in a situation where, you know, it's something you don't necessarily care about as much, but you know it's something you have to do? Like where do you fall with that?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one there is like nutrition.
Yeah.
I want to be as a fucking fat fatty and eat cookies and hamburgers every night. I want to just be a fucking pleasure monster. But it's such a short-term thing. That idea of seeking that short-term comfort of whether it's food or satiation or mouth pleasure or fucking whatever it is, right? It's such a short-term thing that's going to limit the opportunities I have long-term. Look, man, how many meals in the rest of my life do I think are going to make the fucking list? Right? Of life experience. How many meals in the rest of my life will I go, fuck, that was incredible? Because I can probably name like 6. If I really had to sit and be like, that was fucking incredible. That was incredible. These places I've eaten or whatever it is. And so, I don't know. Food's just not as fucking valuable to me anymore as a comfort. I find a lot more happiness in the other things I'm doing in my life. And so that one's an easy sacrifice. That one's such a short-term gain, which I still fucking give into.
Yeah.
But not consistently.
Human.
Well, yeah. And I fucking also like being able to say, fuck you, I want cookies.
Right.
I don't have to justify it to anyone else because I'm fucking dying, right? Like at some point I'm going to die. I'm sure as hell not going out without these cookies I wanted. But we can't have cookies every fucking day.
Yeah. Speaking of cookies briefly, I didn't hear how Cookie Fest was. Tell me about that.
Cookie Fest was great, and I have a fucking cookie problem. I'm aware of that. I had to tell the friends who run Fat and Weird, I had to tell them, Brad and Aubrey, they're great, run a great company. And I basically told Brad, I was like, yo, you can't send me these on a regular basis.
Yeah,
I'm
no
not
way.
fucking okay. Like I'll never have the conviction to throw them out.
Yeah, of course.
That's never going to happen. The best case scenario is Bonnie has to intercept them and fucking hide them from me. And like never mention or eat them when I'm in the house, which then makes her like some weird gremlin.
Or just give them out to people or something.
No fucking way. It's never going to happen. They came to my house. Those are my fucking cookies. And so like, I know that. And so basically telling Brad that like, yo, you can't fucking send me these. Like you are in control of my success.
I have a cookie problem.
I may have to move. Like, I have to fucking change my address to save myself.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean,
I sat there one night that we got there and I just casually, while bullshitting with people, like ate 6 of their cookies. That's 3,600 calories.
I'm sure there's cookies everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great for me. It's a real trigger environment. I have to be careful with.
Did y'all end up breaking the world record for
we did not.
No?
Yeah, we missed it. Yeah, for total number of people to dunk cookies in milk and eat. Fucking a lot of people to try to get to a place.
I'm sure. Yeah. Did they not have enough people show up on time?
Yeah, just not enough people.
Oh man.
I think they had to get like
next one.
500 or something people there.
What's an obstacle that you're currently facing or recently faced, and what practices do you use to cope with it?
Currently right now, man, I'm burnt out. I feel pretty dragged ass. The just chaos of this year with work plus Online retail space has changed a lot, man. We're in a very different space with what ad spend was doing or how to market your brand worked and what doesn't and does work now. And sales for most of the online businesses I know are down a bit, down quite a bit. And that's real challenging. But here we are. Like that's the fight. And so like there's a lot of that's been rough. And so that starts getting into like, am I making good decisions? Am I leading the way that I need to be leading? And like, what can I be doing to take care of my team? And those have been a real struggle and challenge, but trying to have the awareness and the clarity of mind to look at it without too much emotion, it has been good. And being able to have Bonnie in my corner to listen to me and be able to say like, that's not real, right? Like that thing you're saying, like none of that's fucking real. Helps. But it's easy, man. I'll pile on myself and get really shitty.
Yeah, it's really funny how our mind plays tricks on us like that, tells us shit that's not true all the time, but we have to know what's true and what's not. It's a difficult game to play.
Yeah, fear's a real tricky one. And fear gets weird. Fear starts making me make weird decisions. And so I guess like the best way that I explained it to Bonnie is I just feel not totally like myself lately. And it's like I can still do all the actions of things that help, but it's just not quite the same right now.
Yeah. And how do you cope with that?
I know it'll pass. I remember it not being here a week ago or 2 weeks ago, right? Like it'll pass just like anything else does.
Yeah. And I guess the irony of that, give it time is, how much you talk about time running out. Like,
well, I'm not choosing to stop taking action.
Right.
I know this feeling will pass. And I know me sitting around and doing fucking nothing sure as shit doesn't help.
Yeah.
Reading.
Still putting in the reps with the gym, with the cold exposure, the mindfulness, the breath work, everything it adds to it. Yeah.
It's easy, man. Like, whenever I feel really in progress and I'm in a good mood, I'm really journaling and I'm doing that stuff and it's easy and I'm listening to new things and finding all this motivation. When things start getting tighter and rougher, like those will be the kind of first things to go. And that's such a bullshit way to do it. Like fucking control what you can. There's tons I can't control right now. Whatever the bullshit is with the economy and these things that I see across the board, like those are uncontrollables. Do the best I can and keep trying to solve the fucking problems. And that's where I get burnt is like, I don't know that I have any answers. Like I don't know anymore that I can solve whatever the next round of problems are.
Right.
And starting to question myself of like, okay, is this it? Is this max fucking potential of what we can manage? And at some point it will be, right? Like at some point I'm going to reach my level of incompetency. I just don't know when.
Right. And that comes from, our undetermined life. It comes from, your background in sports. There's set periods for certain things and everything comes to an end, right?
Everything.
So no matter what it is,
always has. It always
eventually there will be an end.
Including me, including Earth, including fucking everything else. It's all gonna go.
Yeah.
And like, so these problems are temporary too.
Right. And there's power in surrendering to that, right? Memento mori, you're gonna die. And with that surrender, you can free yourself up to, be more focused on doing what makes the most sense right now.
And with the accountability piece that I believe, right? Like the radical accountability, like all of these fucking problems are ones I've chosen. No one's asked me to do any of this shit. I'm not obligated to do any of this shit that I do. I want this. It's fucking my life. This is my fucking dreams. I'm living it. So keep fucking going. It's what we wanted. It's not supposed to be fucking easy, man. Easy. Doing anything worth a fuck is really hard. And so if it's going to be hard either way, whether I'm doing that for you or I'm doing it for myself, or I work for myself, or I'm trying to work my ass off for building someone else's brand or business or doing any of those things to make a lot of money, it's always going to be hard. And for me, if it's going to be hard, I'll just do it for me. I'll figure it out. I'd like to reap the rewards. I'm also okay with the risk. I've hit the detonate button before. Wasn't the end of the world.
I mean, that's a big hurdle to get over, right? The risk in terms of like what could go wrong. And
Tons of shit.
I know with like the 1612, one of the practices that you've implemented is questioning, calling them out, holding them accountable to what literally could go wrong. Like, what is the worst case scenario?
What's the worst
and
case
questioning,
scenario that could happen?
Why is that the worst case scenario? Would it actually be that bad?
Right. And how long would it take you to figure it out?
Yeah.
And none of it's ever permanent. So like,
yeah, it never is.
Fucking day. So it's a fucking bad day, and I've had plenty of them. There's going to be more. There's also going to be a bunch of great ones. The bigger the highs, the lower the lows.
Yeah,
that's how it goes, man. I'm okay with that.
It puts it in perspective.
Yeah, because I want more memories that don't blend into other shit I've done. Like, I don't want to relive the same thing a bunch of times.
Who is someone who inspires you to keep a positive mental attitude?
My mom. My mom's a lot more positive than I am across the board.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
She's fucking optimist all the way through. I'm not. She's a much better glass half full person than I am naturally. I've had to learn a lot of it to live in that abundance instead of just being cynical. Cynical's easy.
Yeah, and I know your brand is originated with hate, but you've taken that hate and turned it into a positive, right? At least
self-care.
My interpretation.
Yeah, it's always been that. Like, the hate thing has always been self-care. It's always been not tolerating my bullshit. It's not listening to this was good enough, or we tried enough, or now I should be entitled to this, or I win and people are recognizing it, or any of that. Like, fuck all that bullshit. Do it for you. Fuck doing it for other people. Fuck doing it to prove other people wrong. Prove yourself right. Prove that this is what you wanted to do. Show the fucking world. You also don't need them to back you. Fuck them. Yeah, they're either in or they're not. That's fine. I don't need you to want to love my dreams. I don't give a shit about most of yours. That's cool. I don't have to support yours. Only you do.
Oh yeah. I know we talked about a lot of, helpful quotes and tips in this conversation, but to boil it down, to wrap this up, what is a quote or tip that inspires you to keep going despite personal hardships?
I don't know that I got anything brilliantly off the spot, other than watching 14 Peaks. Really, really great documentary with Nims Persia. There's a moment in that where he talks and he's like, when most people think they're fucked, they're really only 40% fucked. And I think that's true. So even when it's fucking bad, sort your shit. Could be worse.
Yeah. I know David Goggins, he makes that reference as well. And it's something that I used personally when I was trying to complete my first marathon back in 2019. I ran North Face Endurance Challenge trail marathon for my first marathon. And it was fucking hard. Don't get me wrong. But, I did have that reminder from David Goggins that, when I think I'm ready to give up, I've still got plenty more in the tank. And that helped me to power through and finish it, and we definitely have more power and more potential than we give ourselves credit for.
For sure we do. But without the exposure and experience, why would you know? You think you're just going to access that like some type of fucking magician? Like, no fucking way. Like, you got to find those edges personally. And like, while I found all the ones regarding heavy strength training and things like that, I'm interested about the others I can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what does that look like for you now? Like, what's something that you're looking for as the next thing that you really want to focus and drill in on?
Just more of the endurance, like adventure stuff. Like I'm really into this bike ride thing, and then I think I'm going to do this 50-mile ruck in December. And then I don't know. I'd like to do some bigger overnight hikes. I'd like to do something like maybe the Colorado Trail as a mountain bike ride, or do some experiences like that. I really have enjoyed, with the 1612, being able to interact with a community that wants it in person, and be able to help people grow and be able to find those perception shifts and stuff like that, and kind of help people find a community that wants to see you fucking win, man. Because look, we're running out of time. You're not too late to start, but TikTok, right? Like, why are we going to wait another 10 fucking years? Like, if you're going to do this in 5 years, let's just get started, because it's going to take a long time to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to interact with people, man, and watch people switch on and turn their things, like, that's been something that's so much fire for me that I didn't realize I didn't have, because I've never been a coach. I've never worked one-on-one with people. I didn't ever train people or do any of that. I've just worked on me. Like, having a weekend to kind of dive into those awareness pieces and do some breath work and do these type of things with people, to expose them in an environment with someone that, like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm in it with you. And I think being able to get people a spark or that fire instead of, so many people have just never been around anyone who's ever done anything impossible. And I've been around it too much to pretend anything's impossible anymore. And I want people to feel.
Yeah, we're a product of our environments, right? You
Right.
know, you're surrounded by the status quo, then most likely that's what your life is going to be.
Yeah, I think that's a big truth, right? Like, you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or 6. And so for me, I personally always try to be the weak fucking link in my tight groups. It's great.
Yeah.
They'll always bring me up. There's not
Exactly.
any ego that's
I think
involved.
about that sometimes when I'm out riding my bike with friends. You know, if you're the slowest person in the group, that's okay. You know,
You'll only get better.
become a better rider.
Yeah, you won't slow 4 people down, and they
Yeah.
won't become shittier riders. But if you're a good rider with 4 shitty people, you'll get slower.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's anything. That's life and the people you're around. The problem is people feel obligated to some time invested in these people, that if it doesn't serve you anymore, it's okay for that chapter to close and move on to what does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not fear, the door closing, but
Right.
rather looking to embrace the next door that's opening. Right. Yeah. And like you said, TikTok, time is running, man.
It always does, man. It always does. And so I think with the group being able to host some more events and do stuff like, I think next year I'm going to run like a mountain bike retreat, and like set up with one of the companies out west and host like a 5-day kind of excursion, and be able to rent bikes and do all that. So it really doesn't require a ton of fitness on the front end, but like, fucking be in shape.
Hell yeah.
I mean, even if e-bikes are an option, like, I still think people need the experience of being outside that long.
It sounds super fun. I would totally be into something
Hell
like
yeah. Well, good. I'll keep it in mind, Joe.
that. Well, Matt, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. Where can people connect with you if they want to follow along with you on your journey?
If anyone personally needs anything, matt@mattvincent.net. You can email me. I hate Matt Vincent on Instagram. I think it's Matt Vincent or something on TikTok. They may be the same.
I think it's
Instagram DM's the easiest way to reach me. My YouTube channel's there, but the 1612.com is our mentorship group where we're hosting events and doing stuff with that. And any type of apparel you're interested in is the HVIII.com.
right on. Thanks again, Matt. Great talking to you.
You
Take
too,
care,
brother.
bud.
I appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it and it was helpful for you in your personal growth journey. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so on your preferred podcast provider. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Stay blessed and keep the PMA. Later.